Okay, we need to talk about silver. And I'm not talking about your grandma's silverware or some ring you bought on vacation. No, we're diving into something much, much bigger. A huge shift in the supply of a metal that you might not realize is critical to pretty much everything, from the phone in your hand to the entire green energy revolution.
And here's the news that kicked this whole thing off. Starting January 1st, China is putting new restrictions on its silver supply to the rest of the world. Just one decision, but it's sending massive ripples across the globe. You know, China's basically decided to tighten the tap. And well, the rest of us are about to feel that squeeze.
And if you're wondering just how big of a deal this is, look at this number, 65%. That's roughly how much of the global silver supply China controls. Let that sink in. When one country has that kind of grip on a resource this important, any change they make isn't just news, it's a global economic event.
Right, so why should you care? I mean, most of us don't really see silver day to day, do we? But here's the thing, it's like this invisible metal, this secret workhorse that's powering our entire modern world. Let's dig into what makes it so dang essential.
Here's the best way to think about it. You've got gold on one side, right? We all think of it as super precious, and it is. But what does it do? Mostly it just sits in a vault. It's a store of wealth. Silver is the complete opposite. It's an industrial workhorse. It actually gets used up, built into all the tech we rely on every single day.
And what makes it such a workhorse? It all boils down to one simple, incredible fact. Silver is the most conductive metal on Earth. Period. It's better than copper, it's better than gold. So if your goal is to move electricity from point A to point B with the least amount of loss, there's just no substitute. It's the best.
And because of that one property, it's absolutely everywhere. I mean, think about it. It's in your smartphone, the circuit boards in your laptop. It's a key component in solar panels and electric vehicles. Those 5G networks we're all building out, yep, silver's in there too. And get this, the next generation of tech, like solid-state batteries, is probably going to need even more of it.
Okay, but here's the real kicker. China's move, it didn't just happen out of the blue in a perfectly balanced market. Nope, it's more like pouring gasoline on a fire that was already burning. The truth is, the world was already dealing with a major silver shortage before any of this.
Just take a look at the numbers projected for 2025. The world is going to need about 1.24 billion ounces of silver, but we're only on track to produce about 1 billion ounces. That's a gap, a deficit of almost 250 million ounces. In just 1 year, we are already using way more silver than we can get out of the ground.
So the obvious question is, why don't we just mine more, right? I mean, demand is high, prices are going up, just dig more of it up. Well, it turns out the reality of silver mining is a lot more complicated than you might think.
There are two massive problems, really. First off, most silver isn't mined directly. Something like 75 to 80% of it is actually just a byproduct. It comes out of the ground when you're mining for other stuff like copper or lead or zinc. So you can't just say, let's get more silver. You have to mine more of everything else. And then there's problem number two, time. Even if you hit the jackpot and found a huge, pure silver deposit tomorrow, it would take you 12 to 15 years to get a single ounce out of that mine. The supply just can't respond quickly.
So let's recap. You've got this insane demand from technology, crashing right into a supply that's basically stuck in slow motion. Now, with that as the background, let's circle back to China's big move. What are they actually trying to do here? What's the strategy behind these export controls?
Well, the way they're doing it is with a new licensing system. It's not an outright ban, so they can say they're still exporting, but it's a huge barrier. It basically means Beijing now gets to be the gatekeeper. They can decide who gets a license and who doesn't, giving them almost total control over that huge chunk of the world's silver they have.
So, what's the motivation? There are a few pretty clear reasons. First, they want to prioritize their own industries. China makes a ton of the world's solar panels and EVs, and this move makes sure their own factories get first dibs on silver, probably at a lower price. Second, it's about securing the future. They can stockpile the silver they'll need for whatever tech comes next. And third, and this is a big one, it gives them incredible strategic leverage over the rest of the world.
So, when you put all of this together, it naturally brings us to the investor's point of view. A market with this much tension, this squeeze between supply and demand, is kind of like a powder keg. It creates some massive opportunities for sure, but also some really significant risks.
Now, one of the classic ways investors have looked at this is something called the gold to silver ratio. It sounds complicated, but it's really not. It's just a simple number that answers one question. How many ounces of silver do you need to buy 1 ounce of gold? For centuries, people have used it to get a feel for whether silver is looking cheap or expensive compared to gold.
So here's how to read it. Historically, when the ratio gets up to around 80, it's been a signal that silver might be undervalued, a potential buy. If it drops down to around 45, the thinking is that it's getting overvalued. And where are we today? Right around 60. So based on this one traditional metric, the market seems to think things are pretty balanced, at least for now.
And that really sets up the two big arguments here, the bull case versus the bear case. The bulls will tell you, look, industrial demand is through the roof and the supply is completely stuck. Plus, it can be a good hedge against inflation. But the bears have a point too. What if there's a global slowdown in manufacturing? That would definitely hurt demand. Or what if engineers figure out a way to use cheaper copper instead? And you can never rule out some big geopolitical deal that suddenly opens the taps from China again.
And this, I think, really gets to the core of it. The whole way we think about silver has fundamentally shifted. It's become, and I quote, much more than just a precious metals trade, but instead a strategic industrial bottleneck. It's not just a commodity anymore. It's a choke point for our entire technological future.
So let's just zoom out for a second. Forget about what the price is going to do next week or next month. The really big question you have to ask yourself is this: will silver be absolutely critical to our economy 10 years from now? Because if you think the answer to that is yes, then buckle up, because we could be in